participate in the program, 888-957-9570. I get it. It's an emotional night. If you want to be angry tonight, that's fine. You want to be sad tonight, also fine. If you want to take a deep breath and reflect and maybe pour one out, if that's your thing, and be appreciative of the run that the Warriors had here to win another championship last year and extend this series to 6 games in a season that really was tumultuous, to say the least, that's on the table as well. And the reality is we can go in a lot of different directions for the next hour and 40 minutes, and maybe we even go beyond midnight. Now, we probably won't tonight, but we'll keep the thing rolling all the way up until midnight. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. And again, 3 different ways we can go. We can go with tonight's game, which was, for the most part, a disaster from the beginning. We can go with this series, if you want to get into that, and where the Warriors saw this thing get away, because it really wasn't tonight. The Lakers won this series, and the Warriors lost this series in Game 1 when the Warriors made 21 three-pointers at Chase Center, and the Lakers walked out of there with a 117-112 win. And Game 4, where the Warriors controlled the game pretty much throughout, never really made the most of how well they played, and the Lakers were able to rally with the big fourth quarter led by Lonnie Walker and everybody else, and they won that game in this building. Otherwise, we'd be talking about a Game 7, and the Warriors would feel like they've got as much action as any team that still remains in the playoffs. So we can get into this series and what went wrong. We can get into the season overall and the 44-38 and everything that happened, from Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole to Andrew Wiggins' leave of absence to injuries and roles getting shifted around and just the vibes being very much different than they were over the course of the championship season a year ago. And we can also get into where the Warriors go from here, as this is going to be a big-time offseason for Golden State. And there's already a report from Shams Charania and Anthony Slater of The Athletic that's laying out, and we're going to spend a good chunk of Warriors this week, tomorrow here on 95.7 The Game, on what's next. But there's already been a report that dropped right as the final buzzer sounded and the Lakers and their fans were celebrating here about just what the Warriors are looking to do. And that report indicated that Joe Lacob wants to keep Bob Myers, wants to keep Steve Kerr, and wants to keep the big 3 together, and thinks that they could still contend for championships. And so anybody that was kind of wondering how the organization felt about all those things, it doesn't mean it's going to work out that way. Bob reportedly going to take some time to decide what his future will hold, and Draymond holds the cards as far as an opt-out or a potential extension or choosing what he wants to do. And, Steve Kerr is going to be in the final year of his contract. Typically a head coach, final year of your deal, you get extended or you part ways. And so I think there's going to have to be some resolution there, although I do think Steve Kerr is one of the unique coaches in the NBA that probably could work in the final year of his deal, as Phil Jackson seemingly did so many different times with the Bulls and Lakers, to where it can work and doesn't have to be necessarily catastrophic. But just to kind of set that as an aside to the conversation about where the Warriors go from here, the Warriors are already putting some vibes out as an organization as to where they prefer to go from here. So that part of this conversation as well. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game as the Lakers move on and the Warriors are going home in 6. A couple other quick things here just off the top, and then we'll get into this game. We'll kind of go through each one of these things step by step. I do off the top want to acknowledge, as the Warriors run comes to an end, just a couple of incredible nuggets and notes and streaks that end here tonight. The Warriors lost a Western Conference playoff series for the first time in 9 years tonight. 9 years. May 3rd, 2014, right in this building here. in Los Angeles. The Clippers knocked the Warriors out in what was Mark Jackson's final game as head coach. The Warriors won 19 straight Western Conference playoff series over the last 9 years. 19-0 with Steve Kerr before tonight in the Western Conference playoffs. So that needs to be at least acknowledged here off the top as things come to an end. The Warriors failed to win a road game in a playoff series for the first time ever with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green playing together. They'd won one road game in every single playoff series that those three had played in together. 28 straight series. Going back even farther than Kerr's first year. That goes back to Mark Jackson and the 2 years that he made the playoffs as the head coach with the Warriors. And so that comes to an end tonight with the Warriors going 0-3 down here in Los Angeles in this series to lose it. And the Warriors had been 8-2 in elimination games under Steve Kerr, which is insanity. But before tonight, they've been 4-0 on the road in elimination games under Steve Kerr. One in Sacramento a couple of weeks ago, one in 2019 in Toronto when the Raptors came back home with a 3-1 lead. Toronto obviously went back to Oracle and closed the place down and won the NBA championship in the next game. Warriors won Game 7 in Houston in 2018, and the game that I think a lot of people were hoping was going to draw some parallels to the way the Warriors would be able to play tonight. And that was the Game 6 in Oklahoma City, which was Kevin Durant's last game with the Thunder as the Warriors came back and Klay Thompson went off and they ended up 11 threes and winning that game to go on to the NBA Finals. So, again, some just historic, dynastic, all-time great stuff that's just jaw-dropping to write as I tweeted it out and even more to say as I hand it to you here on 95.7 The Game. We got full phone lines already. 888-957-9570. So I'm just going to let the people talk, and I'll kind of get in where I fit in around that. But again, just setting the table very quickly, a few different ways we can go. We can talk about tonight, which stunk. We can talk about this series, which kind of slipped away, but the Lakers proved to be the better team. The season overall, and where the Warriors go from here. And I get it emotionally. If you want to be angry, sad, appreciative, it's all on the table here on Warriors Wrap-Up between now and midnight. All right, let's get to the phones. We're going to get it started with One Wheel Phil on 880 here on a Friday night on 95.7 The Game. What's going on, One Wheel Phil? You're up first.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me first. I just want to first appreciate you. I love just hearing your perspective and your expertise on the subject, on the Warriors, of course. So thank you. And I'm coming on 880 right now. I'm just passing the Coliseum here, coming from Thrive City, which was absolutely lit. The Warriors fans did come out. A few more Laker fans than I would like in the Thrive City area, but Warrior fans did show up and show out. And, I've been to most of the games. I'm a Thrive City representative, Ring fam. So we're a group of fans that are just out there tough. And to say that I had to say goodbyes and, give hugs and see you next season, it's a little sad, you know what I mean? But I'm optimistic and grateful, that, they did give us that extra win, that they gave us. And the Warriors, they fought. We're Warriors, and I'm satisfied. I'm happy with them. I want more championships. I don't feel like the dynasty is over. And that information you shared about where the organization is wanting to go, I agree with fully. I want to keep Dre. And my question to you is, do you think Wiseman would have helped?
I don't. One Wheel Phil, and I had the take on that. I just don't think. I mean, look at and they're different players, different positions. And thanks for the call. Jonathan Kuminga barely played in this series, and Jonathan Kuminga was exponentially more playable than James Wiseman was at any point really over the season before he ended up getting traded at the deadline. So no. I don't, unfortunately. And they got Gary Payton II back, and in the short term, and I know we've talked about short versus long term on the Payton-Wiseman deal, a lot of it depends on what kind of player Wiseman becomes. A lot of it depends on what do the Warriors win with Peyton on the roster, and is Peyton healthy enough to be able to play regularly enough the next 2 years when he's going to be a $9 million player to be comfortable with the fact that you basically got a role pull back for the dude that was a number 2 pick in the draft and may go on to have a really nice career. So that big picture thing we can take down for now. On the short term, I mean, the Warriors might have gotten swept in this series if they didn't have Gary Payton II. And to be perfectly honest, they might not even played in this series if they didn't have Gary Payton II, because he helped them in the Sacramento series, which was, I mean, nip and tuck all the way through. And they wound up ultimately winning in 7. And so that was a super tight one. And if they don't have Gary Payton II, they probably don't even play the Lakers. So far, so good as far as that deal goes. But again, big picture, have to reevaluate it differently. Justin in Menlo Park next on Warriors Wrap Up. What's up, Justin?
Hey, what's going on? Appreciate it for taking my call. I just want to say thank you right off the bat for putting things in perspective, just that opening statement that you had. I think, it's very hard to not feel emotions during this, obviously this loss, but you put things into perspective and you look at things, and it's, I think you look at the season as a whole, and, just to start off the season, things didn't really look too hot. Obviously with the off-season stuff that happened with Jordan Poole and Draymond Green, Wiseman kind of just not really coming into his own player. It just kind of, the chips were stacked, in my opinion, were stacked against us from the start. And to even be able to say that we got to the second round, I think that's a feat in itself. And this, in my opinion, I think this series was extremely winnable. I mean, you look at it, and aside from the, game one, I think, game one, and then obviously game 4, things got a little out of hand in game 4. But you look at this series in total, and it's just, I think that the Warriors were still in this series. And I was talking to one of my buddies from the beginning, and just the way the game started just kind of got out of hand real quick. Warriors cut it. Obviously, first quarter got it down to a bit, and then at the half, once that 3 fell from Reeves, I was just like, oh, man. But you look at this season as a whole, and, there are some positives to take from it. And I think the biggest thing is obviously the unknown of this offseason. I think you said it best, just what we're exactly going to do, obviously with Bob Myers and with Steve Kerr and Draymond and Clay. I think the biggest thing from this looking at it is that Clay's probably feeling pretty bad about this, 8 minutes and, in a game 6, pivotal game 6. So there's a lot to take away from it, but I know that things are looking, in my opinion, I think things will be good next season. We need a big man. And I think that's what it boils down to. We got to have someone to help out Looney, and to be able to support and just, be a defensive rebounder and just help out on the boards, because we just give up a lot of defensive rebounds, in my opinion. But that's pretty much it. I hope,
Thanks,
I hope
Justin.
things go well for us next season and off season.
Yeah, appreciate it, Justin. Good stuff. You kind of touched on a little bit of everything. Again, I'll come back to this series was game 1 and game 4, the 2 close ones. If you win one of those 2, you're still playing at 12:30 on Sunday afternoon. As far as this game goes, I mean, just kind of all systems fail from the beginning. The Warriors just couldn't hit shots early in the game. I thought the move that the Lakers made to start Schroeder for Vanderbilt, it really opened things up for the Lakers offensively. And it dared the Warriors to maybe put some more offensive-oriented players on the floor when they were getting away from with Gary Payton II and kind of how they were operated. But really, it was just, I mean, the Warriors couldn't hit anything tonight, and the Lakers came out composed, and they got inside, and they moved the basketball, and they took advantage of the misses, and it looked like this thing might get really ugly from the jump. It was 27-10, but then the Warriors fought back into the quarter after it was 27-10, a 16-4 close. Steph Curry had a little mini takeover there toward the end of the first quarter. For the Warriors to only be down 5 into the first quarter, you're thinking, wow, they've got action in this one. And I made the point on social media, like, hey, they might need Curry to just play all 48 tonight, because he looked like he had it working at the end of that quarter. He subbed out at the top of the second, and really it was missed opportunities. As the Warriors would cut it, it was a 4-point game with 8:14 to go when Curry was out. So Curry being out, the Warriors actually picked up a point in that time, and then just killer missed free throws. DiVincenzo missed a couple of free throws, even though he played well tonight, and it went right back to 9. And at that point, you're just when you get down 17 and then you cut it to 4, you can't really afford even the slightest little mini drought, or it's right back to double digits and in trouble. And the Warriors were living in this danger zone for a good chunk after they had cut it down to 4, to where it was 10 to 12 point game. And the question became, are the Warriors going to cut it down to where it's basically a tie game or a 1-2 possession game before the Lakers push it out into blowout territory? And the end of the second quarter, just critical. I mean, Klay Thompson airballs a 3. Dante DiVincenzo has a layup. He missed it. Davis blocked it. Maybe he got fouled, a few people said. Regardless, it's a miss, and it ends up with Austin Reeves hitting a 54-foot shot from beyond half court. And it was indicative of a lot of the plays that the Warriors have made to just break opponents' backs in playoff series and in big games. And to be in position where the Warriors were basically going to go in worse, they hit the layup, they're down 5. Now they're down 10. And the uphill climb continues into the third. And again, I said it just a second ago, were the Warriors going to cut into it and make it a tie game, or were the Lakers going to push it up to 20? And the Lakers almost immediately pushed it right back up to 17. And at that point, it felt like a wrap. Curry kind of got cooking a little bit again at the end of the third. Is there some action? And then I thought, even with the Warriors being in trouble and down, 14 going to the fourth, they cut it to 91-80. Jordan Poole, an and one. Klay Thompson then missed 2 wide-open threes that would have cut it to 8. And just the story of the night for Klay. 3 of 19, 2 of 12 from 3. Was the worst player on the floor for the Warriors, a -33. And probably the worst game of Klay Thompson's career, given the circumstances. And Rui Hachimura then blocked Klay's layup. LeBron had an and one. Lakers were up 16, and they would end up pushing it all the way up to 24, and they win it 122 to 101. And, yeah, Klay Thompson was awful. Jordan Poole was really bad initially. Andrew Wiggins was compromised clearly in this one. And so, yeah, it was just ugly all around and an uphill climb. And the Warriors, I thought, looked tired and gassed and all of that. Draymond Green, just by the way, while we're kind of blending everything, tonight's game, the season, the series, the future, Draymond said flat out in his post-game press conference, we'll try to play some of it later or tomorrow here at 95.7 The Game, but Draymond said he wants to be with Golden State for the rest of his life. As he, was talking about the potential opt-out and all of that. And I think that's the familiar theme coming out of the post-game press conferences, just from what I've been able to listen to before I hit the air and scanning things, and even the Shams Anthony Slater report. It seems like the Warriors prefer, and it's players, coaches, and even at the ownership level, from what's being reported, to keep the band together, which I find interesting. I was kind of wondering which way that was going to go if this game went the way that it ultimately did. But now, Steve Kerr, I know, said he thought the big three have a lot still left in the tank to give. And so this offseason becomes all the more interesting based on all of that. Adnar is next here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Hello, Adnar. How are you? You're calling from Israel?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear.
Uh-oh.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I'm listening. I live in the Bay Area, but I'm here. I watched the game here. It's everybody they were pulling for the Warriors, and all the Maccabee is very popular here in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
Hey, I can't believe I'm listening to you. I got you on a satellite radio, so hopefully I'm coming through okay. I watched the game, and John, just 3 quick points. Okay, observations, really. All right? I'm not angry. I'm more resigned. Did they not look to you? I want to ask you 3 quick questions. Did they not look to you just kind of gassed, like they were out of it? Did you see the expressions on the face of Curry, the way, even though he played okay, but did you not see that this team was kind of ran out of gas?
100%. They were completely out of gas. They couldn't make shots at the beginning of the game, and every time there were, I want to say, 4 or 5 moments where they had action as badly as they played to still make a push, and every time they couldn't finish a layup. They were a step slow and got their shot blocked. Or, I mean, how many times did Klay Thompson hit the front of the rim tonight on a wide open three-pointer? I mean, it felt like it happened 10 times among his 16 misses. So, yeah, no, I think there's no doubt they were flat out gassed. And I think it's not surprising to think that they would be flat out gassed.
Here's my critical point. And I want you to, and I don't mean to, pile on Steve Kerr, okay? But and then I want to ask you one other question. I just want to make it quick. I'll be quick. I know you got a lot of callers. Kurt, this is where he's got 4 titles. He's a great coach. I'm not in any way. This is what annoyed me a little bit, though. I watched this game like you did. When they come out, I didn't see any urgency with these guys. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but, your elimination game, and I know the Lakers are probably better. I mean, they got LeBron is just great, and Anthony Davis is there. Forget the Robin to Batman. He's a great player. He's a double Batman. The heck with all that other BS about Robin the Batman. Anthony Davis, and they got a lot. The Lakers are good. I didn't realize how good they are. But
yeah, they revamped their team in the middle of the year. It's a completely different team, and this team is a very good team. There's no doubt. Anyway, continue your point, and then we'll keep it rolling.
Yeah, real quick. But I was just going to say, to me, they didn't come out with. I mean, Kerr looked almost like, like he was conceding, and I know he's not. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm just saying they look like, or that maybe the better team really did win the game.
Yeah, I think so. And Adnar, I'm going to jump in here because we got a lot of people that want to talk. 888-957-9570. I don't think the Warriors lacked urgency. I just think they couldn't make a freaking shot at the beginning of the game. And, I mean, you look at the first quarter, they were 3 of 14 from 3 and 9 of 29 overall. The Lakers came out and were 6 for 6. The Lakers were 3 of 5 from 3 and 10 of 19 overall. The Warriors were 3 of 14 from 3 and 9 of 29. And the Warriors were only down 5 at that point. It felt like the Warriors should have been down 25 at the end of the first quarter. I thought the Warriors had urgency. I just think they just didn't have their legs. And Klay Thompson was terrible. I mean, for all the conversation about, Klay being back and Klay wanting to be a max player, which we have to throw in that, what do the Warriors do from here future? Because here's the reality on Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is not a max player right now. He's not. And if Klay Thompson wants to be a max player again, then he's going to have to get, his game mentally in check this offseason. And he has to understand that maybe he's not the same player that he used to be and that he's going to have to attack it in a different way than he used to be. All of this just coming down and chucking and he ain't sacrificing bleep. Like, I think if there's an overarching theme for the Warriors this year as to why their season wound up being a failure, and there are a few of them, but one of them for me is the fact that they never truly accepted the fact this year that they weren't quite as good as they had been in the past. And because they weren't as good, it didn't mean they couldn't win, but it meant they had to be a little more disciplined, a little more focused consistently, take better shots a higher percentage of the time than they're used to, be a little more cautious with the ball, and just play under control more. And I get it. The organized chaos and the ball movement, the player movement, and the exceptional shooting is why they were great. Sometimes your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. And I think we saw the Warriors' greatest strengths over the last decade become their weaknesses because and this is on the players, because I know Steve Kerr preached to them to just chill, like, be yourself, but we need to be a little more buttoned up as a team. I do think that was his message. And I think Klay set that opposite tone of, I'm doing it exactly the way I did it 5 years ago and 10 years ago. And come at me if you don't like it, because I'm going down the way I came in. And I think that's where Klay has to look in the mirror and understand that he's got to be a more disciplined player, flat out. Moving, and that's if he wants to help this team get back to winning championships and if he wants to be a max player, because the reality is Klay Thompson right now is not anywhere close to a max player, not even close to a max player. Can he flip that if he goes out and he has a unbelievable season and legitimately looks like he was back to 5 years arm, I wouldn't bet on that. But if Clay wants it, that's what it's going to have to look like. 888-957-9570. Richard and Belmont on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Richard.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, man.
I want to understand. I'm not saying this as a Warriors fan. You know, I'm not really upset or happy or sad or anything. Completely objective.
Sure.
If the Warriors had won tonight, it wouldn't have mattered because they wouldn't have beat Denver. If they had actually played Denver, they probably have been lost in 5. Denver's the better team. I don't think the Lakers are going to beat Denver. I think Warriors fans, appreciate what they did, but it was not going to go it was not going to be a victory in the Western Conference Finals. Denver's the better team. As far as Thompson, if I was the owner of Laker, I wouldn't carry Thompson next. I'd get rid of him. I think Thompson is living in the past. He's not ever going to be the player he was. He's not physically ever going to be that way again. And I think you can keep Gray, maybe, or Draymond and Curry, of course, but I think Thompson would be the weak link going forward. And he's probably a little bit delusional. Maybe he thinks he could be what he was, but he's not. And Warriors fans, you guys would have lost to Denver anyway. Denver is the better team. You probably would have lost to the gentleman.
Fair enough, Richard. I'm not going to dispute that at this point. I think Denver is playing exceptional basketball, and I could see them going on and winning the NBA championship. Now, I think the Lakers could beat them. I think that's going to be a good series. We'll see what happens with Boston and Philly. I don't love Miami, but they've blown up their side of the bracket. I think Boston or Philly both beat Miami, depending upon who wins and ends up in the finals against the Lakers. I'd probably give the Nuggets a little bit of an advantage, but the new look Laker team is I mean it's just a completely different team than the team that they had at the beginning of the year. I mean, they did an unbelievable job fixing their roster to the tune of being able to win multiple playoff series and maybe have a shot to win the Western Conference. But as far as the rest of it goes, Klay Thompson's making over $40 million next year. So and man, to think that report comes out from Woj before the first game in Sacramento that he's looking to be a max player, yikes. I mean, in a big-time way. If anything, and I know the Anthony Slater Shams Charania report that dropped right as the game ended from The Athletic indicated, hey, Klay, if he wants to come back, the Warriors are welcome to have him beyond next year, but it's probably going to have to come at a pay cut. And so we'll see how that plays with Klay Thompson. Again, does he look in the mirror and understand that he isn't the same player that he used to be and is accepting of that? Or is he saying, I want to get my money and I've been a 4-time champion and I'm still, and look, he's got 1 year left on his deal. So if Klay truly believes he can be that, then he can go out and have an outstanding season next year at age 34, I guess it would be at that point. But at this point, I mean, I'm kind of more in line with, you'd love to have him next year, but beyond that, you can't play at the level that you played at this year and the level that you played at in the playoffs with the up and down games and think that you're getting a pay raise when you're already making north of $40 million a year. I mean, that's just unrealistic. Back to the phones. Idris and Hayward next on Warriors Wrap-Up. Hey, Idris.
Hey, what's up, JB? Exceptional. You always do a great job. Man, you know what? Whew, when it was finally over, initially it hurt, but watching that game and watching the playoffs and the season, it's kind of like having that friend that you care about, and you see them in a fight, and you see them losing. And then the round is over, they go back in there losing. So it was kind of like the reality is this is not a good Warrior team. Curry's been great. He's been awesome. But I was thinking to myself, Joker has Murray, LeBron has AD, Tatum has Brown, Curry has who? And don't say Klay. Do not say Klay. I love Klay, but goodness, we got to – no. Wiggins maybe. Draymond's more defensive. Curry didn't really have no help, and he's been having his team on his back, and you could see they were tired the whole series. But shout out to LeBron. We want to talk about tired. He's 38 years old, and he came out and executed, and he had his whole team I think the Lakers are going to win the ring. Like, seriously, and this is not me jumping on LeBron. Just the eye test, it's like they are locked in. So, great. I mean, good job, Warriors. You know, we barely made it in the play-in. Y'all kept it interesting. I love the fact that you said they're going to keep everybody together, but, man, Klay Thompson, if I had to put on somebody, Klay Thompson shot us out the man. But, hey, it is what it is. Go Warriors. Love it. God bless y'all.
Thanks, Idris. I think you put it an interesting way. It's because the one takeaway now moving forward, and I think this was part of it last year too, Steph showed everybody that he still is a freaking superstar at the highest level. And the Warriors had a good enough team last year to obviously win the NBA championship. But as you look ahead to this year and the way things played out, now as it ends, and as I always say, how things end matters, I think that's an interesting way of putting it, Idris, as far as you look at this, who's the two on this team and compare it to some of these other playoff teams and their 1-2 punch. And the Warriors, it's void. You're right. Klay is nothing like Davis and LeBron at this point, at least what they were in this series. Wiggins was not that player, obviously, coming off of the 2 months. And Wiggins was basically the Warriors' second best overall player in the playoffs last year. And so that's a dynamic that I think is also has to be accounted for. And you mentioned Denver, and you even Boston, Tatum and Brown. They're two, Harden and Embiid. All of these other teams right now have even Booker and Durant, who got ran out last night in ugly fashion. That's a better top two. And so either Klay's got to get his game back to that level, or you have to get somebody else in there that can be the number two with Steph. And how do you go about doing that with all the financial ramifications? And it's a tricky calculus for sure, but that's what the Warriors are going to have to try to figure out as they move forward here. Ben in San Francisco next. 888-957-9570. Hey, Ben.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good.
Tonight I'm definitely a little disappointed, definitely a little hurt with things, but, anytime the Warriors lose, I'm kind of in disbelief. They just play such a good brand of basketball. They're always fun. They're always dynamic, sharing the ball. I don't know, this season was a little weird because that wasn't always fun at times with turnovers and losing close games at the end, but I'm so appreciative of what they did, and I just want to shout out, Steph Curry, Kevon Looney. I thought they had great seasons. And I'm a sentimental person, so I also kind of want to shout out Tim Roy. I stuck around at the end of the radio broadcast, and he was, giving a shout out to all the affiliates and everybody around, and I just kind of thought that put things with the fan base and everything in perspective a little bit, and just made this bittersweet experience a little bit easier to solve this one.
Yeah.
So thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, you got it. It is crazy to think, hey, this is the, fourth time in the last 10 years that Warrior fans are basically feeling this way, and really the third. The play-in tournament coming out of COVID, you didn't have Klay back at that point. When Memphis knocked the Warriors out, it was at, 8,000-9,000 at Chase that night, so that didn't really feel, whatever. That was kind of a season where you knew you weren't going to win a title, obviously with the injuries in 1920, and then COVID ended that year in March. You didn't really have to acknowledge that. Really, this is the third time in the last 10 years, basically, where Warrior fans are really hurting, because the season ended and you thought it could have been more, and it didn't quite, it didn't quite work out. And so, you're living large as a fan base among other fan bases. Just look at this, just look at the last decade and all of the, thrilling moments and unbelievable performances that the Warriors have been able to put out there. 888-957-9570. Let's sneak in one more. Jeff in San Francisco before we pause here for the first time. Jeff, you are on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, JD. Thanks for taking the call. Frustrating loss. It was a pretty roller coaster season, though. I just did not have championship expectations at all, given what was going on. But it's kind of interesting talking about Klay, and I just wonder how you kind of think Jordan Poole fits in this whole thing. I'm going to say something that I think is not very popular. amongst Warriors fans. But, you know, kind of what I saw with Clay is, like, if the threes aren't hitting, like, what else does he do offensively? And JP is, you know, 23, young. I think he's still going to grow. I'm not as down on him as a lot of people are. Defensively, he's a liability. But, I mean, if you're going to look at it next year, you know, if you got to move off somebody, I don't know, do you move off Clay and try to keep JP and work with that and try and, you know, continue to grow that? Obviously, it just kind of depends on what 30 wants. So, I don't know, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, you know, the whole kind of, it seems like the decision between, you know, you got to get JP in the starting role going forward to get him going, and that kind of means Clay's got to step aside. But anyways, that's all I had for you. All right, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think it's as crazy as maybe it sounds coming out of your mouth, to be perfectly honest. And look, I think what is coming out of the post-game press conferences as the Warriors go down here and what came out on that Slater-Shams report indicates that this really, though, is the big three. And it's Steph believing in Clay, believing in Draymond, and the three of them believing in each other, and Steve Kerr believing in them, and everybody hoping Bob Myers comes back, and Joe Lacob believing that he can, you know, still piece together another championship roster because those three together have shown enough to contend. Now, it's not crazy to look at Poole because he's going to become an expensive player. He is younger, and, you know, but to me, I think, you know, one of the other overarching themes of this season has been the disconnect between young and old. And did the punch exacerbate that? Yes, I think it did. But I think there was, and I think Steve Kerr took the blame for this throughout the year, throughout, you know, a lot of the Warrior fan base. But I think the reality is the veteran players and the core championship three players didn't trust the young players. And so Kerr kind of rolled with what they wanted. And so this, to me, sounds more like in that scenario where you got to pick between Clay and Poole, kind of feels like the Warriors would pick Clay and look to move Poole. The other part of the equation, and I know we're up against it, is you also have to use if you're going to go all in with the older guys, then you're going to have to use the younger guys in an attempt to fortify the roster and make it championship caliber again. And that means Poole, that means Kuminga, that may mean Moody, although Moody proved himself to be a playable playoff player in the both rounds of this series. I mean, I think Moody's future, it's funny, he went from, you know, the bottom to now he looks like, hey, he's got a role on a winning team next year. All right, we'll pause here. We'll come back, 888-957-9570. We'll reset the phones. We'll get the secret sauce in. We'll get the three-pointer of the night in as well as the Warriors see their season come to an end right here on 95.7 The Game.
Meet Joe A, Hi. Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
I had a nighttime routine for my frequent heartburn. I would drink milk. I would sleep upright with more pillows. But that painful burning stayed. So I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine. With just 1 pill each morning, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn day and night. Now I have a new nighttime routine. I call it sleeping.
1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn. With Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new place. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hello, I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. I'm so proud that we've helped over 15,000 businesses claim over $5 billion in cash incentives. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. Every client is assigned a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to accurately determine eligibility. Innovation Refunds has hundreds of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot and Google, and your business might be entitled to receive up to $26,000 per employee. Businesses of all types can qualify, including medical, professional, construction, even nonprofits. Please don't miss out on this. Even your doctor would tell you to get an expert second opinion, and we do a lot of work for doctors. Download the Innovation Refunds app now or go to getrefunds.com to potentially get a payroll tax refund of $26,000 per employee. GetRefunds.com. GetRefunds.com.
At West Credit Union, we're working towards a brighter financial future for both our members and our community, knowing that when you succeed, we all succeed. That starts with a solid financial foundation. As a credit union, we have no stockholders demanding profits. Our commitment is to our members. Experience the difference with our Money Market Max Bonus promotion, offering a cash incentive for letting us protect and grow your money. West Credit Union, working for you. Today, tomorrow, together. West Credit Union is insured by NCUA.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is a firm that practices family law exclusively. We focus on only one area of the law to maximize our strength and effectiveness as advocates for clients that have everything on the line: their homes, retirement, savings, and most importantly, their children. We're the partner our clients count on. If we can be of help to you, give us a call.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's California area attorneys. 2121 North California Boulevard, Suite 290, Walnut Creek, California, 94596.
So you just used bug spray in your home. Now what? Well, between the waiting and waiting for things to dry up and keeping your family away from the mess, it hits you. You could have used Zevo. Unlike other bug sprays that stick around, Zevo goes from kill to clean in seconds. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly.
At Lawton Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, we know how hard it is to care for loved ones. Come and check out the 5-star facility named one of the top skilled nursing facilities by U.S. News and World Report. Visit us at lifegen.net or call Dan Daly at 415-566-1200.
Check out the secret sauce of the game after every Warriors game. The secret sauce of the game brought to you by Proposition Chicken. Fried, flipped, faked. This chicken goes 3 ways. Now available in 9 Bay Area locations.
For all contest rules, go to 957thegame.com/rules.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Guys, fellas, men, are you Roman ready for the weekend? Right now, generic Viagra, aka Sildenafil, is just $4 per dose at Roman. Just complete a free online visit with a U.S. licensed healthcare professional. If medication is appropriate, Roman sends what you need in discreet packaging with 2-day shipping. Generic Viagra from $4 at Roman. Go to ro.co/Viagra. Do it today and get 20% off your entire first order. That's ro.co/Viagra.
Who doesn't love shopping for a new car? It's so much fun. But shopping for financing, nobody likes to do. Luckily, First NorCal Credit Union can help. With rates, they've got low rates, 3.99% APR. And you could save big by skipping that dealer financing and apply the manufacturer rebate to your down payment. Visit firstnorcalcu.org to learn more. Must qualify for membership. Rates subject to change without notice. Loan subject to credit approval. 3.99 annual percentage rate based on 36-month term and 780 FICO score. 29.52 per $1,000 borrowed.
James on the right side. Guarded by Moody. Jab step comes right. Cut off by Moody. Lost the ball. Picked up by Curry. Curry goes behind the back in traffic. Drifting to the right side. Avoids. Walker drives on Schroeder. Takes the hit. Floats it up. It's good and a foul.
Well, I'll tell you what, it makes a free throw. It's a 7-point game.
The Warriors are back in business.
Holy mackerel. The Lakers don't know what hit them now.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, Steph Curry doing everything he possibly could to keep the Warriors in this thing early, but it wasn't enough. Warriors trailed by 5 at the end of one after getting down 17 immediately in this one. The Warriors never led tonight as the Lakers win it 122-101 back here at Crypto.com Arena. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. We got full phone lines tonight, as it often is when a season ends, an emotional one for Warrior fans, understandable of that. Just kind of setting the table here again as we did off the top of the show about an hour ago. If you want to be angry, give it to me. If you want to be upset, sad, appreciative, all on the table. And again, we can get into this game tonight, the series, the season overall, and where the Warriors go from here. All of those things are on the table as well. Secret sauce coming up. A couple of text messages in the Comcast Business text line coming up, but I want to make sure we get back to the phones and give everybody an opportunity to talk here tonight between now and midnight. So we'll get it rolling here in hour number 2 with Nick in Berkeley. Hey, Nick, thanks for calling in here. You're on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, what's up? Man, I just want to say that where were the Warriors, before Bob Laker bought the team, whatever, man, and think about where we were and thinking about the magical run we went on, and we witnessed a lot of great basketball, man. And I don't want to harp on the negative, but, I think the Warriors' complacency in not signing somebody, the big man, over the trade deadline, or even maybe going after Durant again, I think it's kind of arrogant of them, you know what I mean, to think that they, they could, buck the trend and Kerr should have seen that, the GM should have seen it, and they should have signed somebody, man. You know what I mean? The fans are spending money, and if they really wanted to win, they would have went out and they would have got somebody at least to help out. I mean, even Kevin Love would be sounding good right about now. And I'm just saying that, besides the refs, besides Draymond and all that, I mean, they've had a great run, man, and we shouldn't focus on the negative. We should remember where we came from, man, from the dirt all the way to the top, and the team that everybody wants to beat, man. So I'm just proud of the Warriors.
Appreciate it, Nick. 888-957-9570. Mike in Daly City next here on Warriors Wrap-Up tonight. What's up, Mike? Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I'm not angry. I'm very disappointed. I think they should keep the 3 core together next year. I don't know what kind of manipulations that's going to require other than maybe trading Poole, but I might even be willing to trade Wiggins if that gets you back under the cap level they want to reach. But somebody's going to have to go with a high salary if they keep Draymond. I completely agree 100% with your analysis on Clay. I think he's going to have to back down next year, and hopefully Kerr will sit him down if he doesn't. I just can't see, if you're hitting 3 or 4 threes in a row, go ahead and take whatever shot you want. But if you're missing 3 or 4 threes in a row, start driving to the basket or passing the ball. And the other thing I wanted to mention was more of a technical thing. The Warriors seem to be like the best ever in terms of inbound plays when the ball's taken in from out of bounds under the basket or wherever. And I don't understand why they can't run 24 seconds off the clock, say at the end of the quarter or at the end of a game, other than dribble, and hope Steph hits a three-pointer or they turn the ball over. I just don't understand why they can't just run their regular offense and time it at least fairly close to where they get a shot off with 3 or 4 seconds to go at the end of a quarter, and they don't seem to be able to do that without turning it over. Like halftime in this game was just one example, but there's 100 of them throughout the season.
Oh, yeah.
Do you agree or not?
Oh, there were, and it was an absolute killer. The missed layup at the end of the quarter, and then it ends up in an Austin Reeves half-court shot. That's a good point you bring up about just running your regular offense. I think they get caught in that they aren't a heavy isolation team. They're not good at it. They don't run a lot of those plays. And then when they try to run them at the end of quarters, it's been a disaster. A lot of times it's been Jordan Poole with the ball in his hands in those situations, which has also been a disaster. So I think you need a sure-handed player. And a lot of times at the end of quarters, it's Steph who has the ball. The rotation change flipped that this year because Curry didn't really play the whole first and third quarters like he used to. So if you go back through the history, I think a reason that popped up more this year for the Warriors is because Steph wasn't out there at the end of a lot of quarters in the first and third, and Poole was the guy that really does not handle those situations very well. And so as far as running your offense and timing it out, part of that's part of the reason why they go more ISO is as you know, because you don't want to take the shot with 8 seconds, and then even if it's a great shot, because then you give the other team an opportunity to go down and match you at the end of the quarter. To me, if you get a good shot, though, you take your chances and try to defend as opposed to the way it was this year. Just so many negative momentum-changing plays at the end of quarters for the Warriors. Just brutal. As far as the core three, I would be inclined, and there was a texter on the Comcast Business text line saying, hey, the haters need to stop with Klay. My point is more just based on the money that he's going to be making and the report that he wanted to make more than he was going to be making next year, which is already north of 40. Not for this. Not for the way this season has been. But I'm inclined to look at keeping the core three together, plus Wiggins and Looney. And at that point, I think everything else is up for debate. DiVincenzo's going to be gone. What do you do with Poole and Kuminga? And Moody, I think, is a nice young player that you'd like to keep, who showed he could be a stable, younger rotation player. But you also have to get better. So, yeah, you need to get different. And I know Draymond said in his post-game press conference, among the many things that, and I think Steve Kerr echoed the fact that this year, this team as it was constituted this year was maxed out. Don't misconstrue that for believing that the big three are necessarily maxed out. And I think that it's a fair point, but all indications, at least right now, it's Steph, Klay, Draymond, bring that back. Wiggins and Looney, I think, are a stable fourth and fifth, and then you got to figure out who stays and who goes among the rest of it. There's financial components to it, and you also have to use, at that point, if you're going all in on the vets, how do you use the young players to improve the roster to a point where you can contend and be more cohesive? And it may come down to addition by subtraction with Poole, who, let's be honest, at times, Jordan Poole this year, especially in the playoffs even, looked like a guy who didn't want to be here. And there were times in this series where he looked on the floor as if he was somebody who did not want to be on, like he would rather be starting in Detroit than playing the role he was playing with the Warriors. And so I came down Klay's road, and rightfully so, you got to come down Jordan Poole's road as well. And 559 on the Comcast Business text line, hey, Klay kept the Warriors alive when Steph was injured, got the Warriors some wins. He's one of the reasons they have 4 rings. All true. 100% true. Klay gets his flowers for that. Klay's a freaking legend, and that will never change. That will never change. And the Warriors did not win squat when he was out. There's no doubt. He deserves respect for everything he's brought to the Warriors winning the 4 championships and all those numbers I read off the top of the 19 straight Western Conference series and the elimination games and all that. He deserves all the cred in the world for all of that. He also is no longer a max player. And he also has to look in the mirror this offseason and decide if he wants to adjust his game and be a little bit more disciplined on the floor and understand, because again, when I say this, it's not that the Warriors could have made a run this year with this team longer than the one they had if they had played a little more calmer and more disciplined throughout the course of the regular season. But they were hell-bent, and again, I think Klay is at the forefront of that because of his personality, hell-bent on we're doing it our way and we're doing it the way we've always done it, and we're not going to lose that way because we've never lost that way. And oh, well, you're not quite as good. You're keeping Sacramento in a series that you could have won sooner. You're missing opportunities to beat the Lakers in close games because you took too many bad shots in Game 1 and Game 4. Like, all of these things added up, and they were walking a tightrope, and ultimately it wound up biting them down the stretch, and that's why they're going home. Back to the phones, 888-957-9570, as we continue here with Leo in San Francisco. Hey, Leo.
Hey, G, how you doing tonight?
Good, man.
Have a kind of a rough way to end the season, with the blowout, the way it happened. I'm not going to spend time. I was thinking about it earlier. I'm not going to spend time, talking about shot selection tonight and those kinds of things. I will say, in reference to that, I think Kerr, has to accept some responsibility for how he handled the team this year. And, come hell or high water, he was going to ride those three guys, Curry, Thompson, and Draymond. And I think at some point he might have held them a little bit more accountable during the year. But, to the very end, and it was on display tonight with Thompson, the way he was playing, that Kerr was going to ride him to the very end, that there was no change in that. They're obviously, those three are obviously getting older. Certainly not disrespecting them, but things are going to be different going down the line. I mean, tonight, that lineup was -26, -26, -21, -33, -18. Green, Wiggins, Curry, Thompson, and Gary Payton. I don't think that against good teams, against very good teams, I'm not surprised what occurred tonight. And I think what's going forward, certainly Lacob can't come out and say specifically, well, I'm going to blow up this team. He can't pull a Jay Reinsdorf and say, this is the last year. So he's saying all the right things about wanting to keep everybody together. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think it's realistic to say you can keep that team together for a couple of reasons. Number one, they are getting older, and you're going to have to figure out a way to incorporate some younger players so, you don't fall off the cliff when these guys basically aren't available, to play the way they're playing now. And the other thing is, I think from a financial perspective, I think he realizes, as you've been talking about, Clay's not a max player and Green's not a max player. It remains to be seen what they're going to do when they realize they're not going to get max contracts. And to talk about keeping that team together at whatever salaries and then trying to bring in a couple additional players is not going to work financially under the new collective bargaining agreement. They're going to have to fill out their roster. If they keep these guys together, they're going to have to fill out their rosters with minimum players. So it's not going to get any better than it is. And it's not just affecting the Warriors. It's going to affect a lot of other teams in the league. Based on some projections, it looks at most teams are going to be able to keep only maybe two superstars at some in terms of like max contracts. And so there's going to be some hard decisions made over the year. Ideally, in an ideal world, sure, they could use someone like Jaren Jackson Jr. if they're going to play small, but a guy who can block shots, protect the rim, you can shoot threes, very physical. But I really do think another thing, especially as Curry and Thompson are getting older, if they're going to keep them, they're going to need to find a point guard so they can take Curry off the ball, run him off screens, and take some pressure off him, especially as he's getting older. Because to expect him to play, regular season, then playoffs, handling the ball as much as he does, like as he gets older, they're going to wear him down faster than they should if they expect that to be sort of the philosophy going forward.
No doubt. A lot to chew on there, Leo. Appreciate the call. 888-957-9570. I think and I agree with that last part, especially about having to, and I think Jordan Poole, it was supposed to be kind of that. He's not a point guard, but a combo guard that you could play some with Steph. He could create, you could take Curry off the ball, but that just kind of blew up in the Warriors' face as things went on down the stretch. As far as incorporating the young players, and look, I think Draymond knows he's not going to be a max player. Clay's going to have to come to grips with it, or he's going to be gone. I mean, the Warriors would love to have Clay, but Clay's not getting a raise over $40 million that he's going to be making next year. And then, Wiggins already took the cut. Looney's on a nice deal. So to me, I'm open to keeping those five. As far as incorporating young players, well, and how do you make the roster better? Well, you trade Jordan Poole and you try to split up the 30. You try to get a role player, or two back. You trade Jonathan Kuminga for a guy like OG Anunoby, and again, I'm not saying go do that, but that's one example at the trade deadline of a framework of the type of thing. It's, you look to, you look to bring in young players, because I do think you need, but young players that are more ready to play types of young players. But that's all part of it for this Warriors team as they look to move forward. Bay Area Dave, next here. What's up, Bay Area Dave?
Hey, JD. Thanks for taking my call, man. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Man, I want to touch on three things, man. First of all, my feelings. And I feel disappointed on the way they played. Man, champions don't play like that. I mean, Klay Thompson, he's taking all these shots. Well, the whole team, when you're taking shots like that, they're not falling, you got to go to the basket. That was my second point as far as Klay Thompson. I wouldn't be disappointed if they traded him. And, I understand what you're saying. He does deserve a lot of respect, and he did, a big accomplishment for the Warriors, gave us a lot of championships. So, I wouldn't mind him keeping him, but he definitely have to take a pay cut. And then my third point is Steve Kerr's coaching. You see these shots not falling. You got to take Klay out the game. You got to take, out the game just to let him sit and watch, see what's going on. He's done it in the past, but like another previous caller said, he was just going to ride those guys out. But this game was too important to do that. When you see it's not working, you got to set him down. Like DiVincenzo came in with all that energy, got us back into the game. Put in Kuminga, put in Lamb. We got Green. What I just think Steve Kerr could have did a little better coaching. That's all I got, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. And I get anybody that's disappointed in how the Warriors ended up going out tonight. That makes a lot of sense. And getting blown out. And really this is the first time that's happened to the Warriors. I mean, they lost in heartbreaking fashion in Game 7 in 2016. In 2019, it was heartbreaking fashion, close one at Oracle. Klay Thompson ends up tearing his ACL. I mean, that's pretty heartbreaking in its own way. And then, tonight basically is the third one here in the last 9 years that the Warriors wind up losing, where you felt like they had a chance at better. And it's the first time they've been blown out and embarrassed and sent home in that kind of fashion. And so I get it, but it has happened over the years. The Laker dynasty in the early 2000s ended right here in this building with the Spurs, I think, beating them in 2003 by 30 in this round, in this second round, as the Spurs were going on to win a title. It happens. The Lakers, I think the year Oklahoma City mopped them, and Andrew Bynum ended up getting kicked out and all that. I think it was Phil Jackson's last game. Like that was that. It happens. Like teams don't always go out in great high character looking fashion. As far as taking Klay out, I just don't think Steve Kerr had any other options. And Poole wasn't giving him enough. DiVincenzo was giving him more tonight, but he had to play more because of Wiggins being really ineffective. I mean, Wiggins was clearly compromised. Kuminga played his way out of the rotation. Moody was kind of playing more. There just weren't enough options. This team wasn't deep enough. It wasn't solid enough. And so, I think Kerr said, all right, I'm riding the big guys, the OGs to the finish line, and it ultimately wasn't enough. Robin in San Francisco, 888-957-9570. Hey, Robin.
Hey, JD, I'm going to miss you unless you tell me where you're going to be. And Tim Roy. I'm going to miss Tim Roy. Did I tell you I watched the game and I turned the announcers down and listened to Tim Roy because I can't take the announcers?
It's the way to do it, Robin. That's the way to do it.
I'm telling you. To the Warrior fan base, calling in saying they're not disappointed, but, and then they start blaming. You know me, JD, I hate the blame game. I mean, there's a way to talk about things that can, a player could have done better, whatever, but stop blaming. For instance, go out and get a big man. They were arrogant not doing that. Do you not look at the broader picture? Do they they not look at the money? Do they not look at the financials? Do they not look at the philosophy? Do you not look at everything as a whole? And then sit up and say, they're arrogant. They didn't go get a big man. What big man? Okay? You know, these things, this is what irks me about our fan base. And then put in Kuminga. What is Kuminga going to do? This is what I basically want to say. It was a 500 team all year long. They were inconsistent. They did good to get to the second round. And then they played just like, as a matter of fact, they played better than what they have played all year round, right, JD? Because they got to the second round, okay?
They did.
So in that regard, I'm not disappointed because they played like who they were all year round. And to me, everybody's on the table except number 30. Bye-bye, guys. Love you, JD.
Appreciate it, Robin. Give us a call tomorrow on Warriors This Week. We got one more Warriors This Week show, and if I don't get you, have a wonderful Mother's Day, Robin, as well. It coming up on Sunday. Look, there comes a point. I'll just say this on Kuminga. There comes a point where it's unfair to Kuminga to just throw him in, especially when you've basically benched him, and maybe there's a little bit of underlying discipline involved in that. And so, and I think Steve Kerr knows that, and I think it actually reached a point where he thought, hey, the kid's confidence is shot. He didn't play well. I wasn't giving him run. Throwing him in is doing a disservice to him at this point in the middle of chaos and the season's falling apart and you might be going home. So I actually think you could make the case that it's respectable to not throw him in after you've made the call that you're basically going away from him. All right, real quick here, secret sauce of the game. Why did the Warriors win or lose? What was the deciding factor? Secret sauce all year long has been brought to you by Proposition Chicken. This chicken goes 3 ways: fried, flipped, and fake. Now available 9 Bay Area locations, or order now at propositionchicken.com. And for the Warriors tonight and in this series, the 3-point shot, 13 of 48, 27%. The Warriors, 103 field goal attempts in this game. They shoot 38%. The Lakers, 52% in this one. And the Lakers, 13 of 26. So the Lakers hit just as many threes as the Warriors did tonight, and they took 22 fewer. 22 fewer. That was the difference in the game tonight, the shooting percentages, and that was the not-so-secret, but secret sauce, brought to you by Proposition Chicken. 9 Bay Area locations, propositionchicken.com. All right, 888-957-9570. We'll pause here. We've got one more segment. If you're on hold, stay on the line. 888-957-9570. Lakers beat the Warriors 122-101 right here on 95.7 The Game.
I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. We provide a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to determine eligibility. Businesses of all types can qualify, so go to getrefunds.com to potentially get a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee. Download the Innovation Refunds app or go to getrefunds.com, getrefunds.com.
O'Reilly. Get your vehicle ready for spring during Clean Car Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Pro X1 exterior cleaning and detailing products provide professional results and show quality shine for your vehicle. Right now, pick up Pro X1 Snow Foam Car Wash 2 for just $15. See store for details. Pro X1 exclusively at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Comcast Business Complete Connectivity checks all the boxes. With cyber threat security, the largest, fastest, reliable network for small business, and save up to 75% a year with Comcast Business Mobile. Get started for just $49 a month for 12 months when you add mobile. Plus, ask about an $800 prepaid card. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 5/21/23. Restrictions apply. Requires 2-year agreement, EcoBill, and autopay. New 100 megabits per second internet and security edge customers only. Equipment taxes and fees extra. Mobile savings compares pricing of top 3 carriers. Comcast Business Internet required.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
Divorce forces a father to focus on what's most important, his children. You may no longer be a husband, but you'll always be a dad. In the divorce process, this comes down to 3 key concerns. physical custody, decision-making, as well as financial support. Each of these is important, and it's important that you choose a lawyer that cares as much about these issues as you do.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's California area attorneys. 2121 North California Boulevard, Suite 290, Walnut Creek, California, 94596.
When you get nachos, tacos, empanadas, spicy queso with jalapenos, Pepto-Bismol's there. Pepto-Bismol provides fast, effective relief from nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea. All the things that can happen unexpectedly on vacation. So before you travel, pack the Pepto. Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
If car designers can make cars look like anything, why are there so many boring cars? Why not a car that looks like an ancient sword? Or the future? The sky isn't even the limit at Nissan. Why be boring when you can make a katana blade slice through traffic? That's the Nissan Z. Or something from the future whizzing by. And that's the Aria. Nissan. We design for thrill. 2023 Aria has limited availability. See dealer for financing details.
Navien tankless water heaters, the proven leader in condensing technology. Request a Navien because you deserve the best in endless hot water delivery. Learn about Navien's condensing tankless water heaters and find a Navien contractor at tanklessmadesimple.com.
Count on Navien.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. When planning your summer vacation, pick a destination close to where you live to limit your use of fuel. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Guys, fellas, men, are you Roman ready for the weekend? Right now, generic Viagra, aka Sildenafil, is just $4 per dose at Roman. Just complete a free online visit with a U.S. licensed healthcare professional. If medication is appropriate, Roman sends what you need in discreet packaging with 2-day shipping. Generic Viagra from $4 at Roman. Go to ro.co/Viagra. Do it today and get 20% off your entire first order. That's ro.co/Viagra.
At West Credit Union, we're working towards a brighter financial future for both our members and our community, knowing that when you succeed, we all succeed. That starts with a solid financial foundation. As a credit union, we have no stockholders demanding profits. Our commitment is to our members. Experience the difference with our Money Market Max Bonus promotion, offering a cash incentive for letting us protect and grow your money. West Credit Union, working for you. Today, tomorrow, together. West Credit Union is insured by NCUA. From carriage house to glass aluminum doors, R&S Doors has a full line of commercial and residential garage doors and gates to suit anyone's taste and budget. Visit rsdoors.com. R&S Doors. Look for the red truck.
The ISO Curry, dribble drive, finds Payton above the break, right wing, it's up and no good. Rebound slapped out by Draymond to midcourt to Thompson. He'll glide down the left side. Jumper's going to be off the back rim, no good. Ball tipped. Payton with a steal, keeps it alive. Back to Clay for three. Got it!
How about Thompson? How about Payton getting that ball?
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
One of a few plays that looked tonight like, Warriors might have a little action, closer than they should be for how poorly they played. But anytime the Warriors looked like they were about to maybe make a run, they ended up shooting themselves in the foot or clanking a three-pointer. It ends up being all Lakers tonight. 122-101 is the final. 888-957-9570. Again, tonight, an emotional night. We got full phone lines. If you want to be angry, if you want to be sad, if you want to be appreciative, it's all on the table, and we can go a lot of different directions as far as this game, which is a disappointment, this series, which is one that I think the Warriors let slip away, much more, on the basis of really maybe 5 or 6 possessions in Game 1 and Game 4. And if you want to talk about the future, we can definitely do that. How things end, how a season ends matters. But again, tonight's game, the series, the season overall, a lot to discuss. And we're going to be doing it tomorrow as well on Warriors This Week, as I will be over in Los Angeles, staying over tonight. And Whitey Gleason will be joining me back in the Bay tomorrow. So 10 until 1, we'll keep it moving here on 95.7 The Game as well. So, looking forward to that. And we'll take a deep breath and a broader scope look at everything that went right and wrong and what we learned and how it applies to the future. And again, just kind of keeping everybody in the loop real quick on this Shams Charania Anthony Slater piece that dropped basically right at the final horn. The nuts and bolts of it, and I'll quote some of the story here. There's still internal belief, and this is from Slater and Shams, their words as I quote here, there's still internal belief that this established aging core can compete for titles because Stephen Curry remains a top 5 player in the NBA, and both Draymond Green and Klay Thompson aren't showing signs of a steep decline. Green made an all-defensive team. Thompson, despite a brutal series against the Lakers, led the NBA in three-point makes. Obviously, Klay not as efficient as he was from three. But Curry's ability to keep the Warriors a contender year after year gives the franchise every motivation to maximize his peak years, even as he turned 35 in March. And again, I'll kind of give you the Cliff Notes version of the short version of the rest of it. They want to keep the band back together. And, Bob Myers, will see. This report indicated the Warriors would like to keep Bob Myers, but Bob's going to take some time to figure out what he wants to do. They don't view Klay Thompson as a max player moving forward, extension eligible this offseason. Poole and Kuminga could be expendable, especially Poole. DiVincenzo obviously is going to have to probably be gone based on opting out and looking to get a better deal elsewhere. And so it sounds like they want to keep the band together among the championship core pieces that have been here, and then we'll see on the young players. I know it was interesting. We've talked a lot about Kuminga the last couple of weeks. There was a note in this Athletic story that says, and I'll quote this, the Warriors and Kuminga's representatives are expected to discuss his future this offseason, league sources say. Golden State will need to decide whether Kuminga will receive a full-time role moving forward, and if not, league sources say the number 7 pick in the 2021 draft will want to be somewhere he can play more. So how about that? Basically, Jonathan Kuminga saying, I want to be a part of it, and if I'm not, I want out. How about that? Interesting stuff. And so, to me, that helps make this thing a little bit easier to try and, read the tea leaves as far as how you want to try to attack this offseason. All right, back to the phones. Enough of me. I've been babbling here a lot over the last 2 hours. Let's get back to Ricky in Boston. Hey, Ricky, as we go rapid fire here on Warriors Wrap-Up. What's going on, Ricky?
What's going on, JD? Just a little disappointed. Actually, a lot disappointed, right? I was expecting a little more fight, championship fight with the Warriors. With Klay, it's just been a weird year with Klay, right? A weird NBA year. It all started with, the NBA 2K. His ratings were too low. He was fighting, what's his name, Ronnie, I think his name is.
Right.
And, and then he goes after, and then Barkley goes after Klay, and then, Brooks and Mikal Bridges goes after Klay, and, then Dylan Brooks goes after Klay. So, it was a rough, tough year for Klay, It felt like, people were just attacking him, and he was just fighting. So, it was a weird year. And I think his game has flipped. I've been calling the last couple of weeks in the playoffs, and I think Klay not moving without the ball. He's a threat when he moves without the ball. And the Warriors' offense is better. Even if he doesn't shoot it, he's still a threat, because you have to guard him. If he just stays still at the three-point line, and watches Curry dribble, and, become like James Harden in the Houston days, and Klay's there's no point of Klay there. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, you're just a statue. And I don't really have to guard you as much because you're just standing still. You're not moving without the ball. If I was Klay, I would ask for a change. I think, a fresh start with, a new team will work. And honestly, I think the Warriors might need it because honestly, there's plenty of Klay Thompsons out in the NBA, right? You can find a guy who can score 20 points and who can have on and off games, right? Like here in the Celtics, they got, Brogdon and White, and they do what Klay does. I mean, you can find another Klay Thompson, and you can save the money. And
all right, Ricky, we're gonna move on that note. I don't know about finding another Klay Thompson, but the Warriors are going to have to figure out how they want to attack this offseason. Ricky, give us a call tomorrow. Take a deep breath. Give us a call tomorrow. We'll reconvene on that note. Let's go back to Rob in Oakland. Back on the phones here. Rob in Oakland next on Warriors Wrap Up. Hey, Rob.
First of all, thank you for taking my call. I just want to say, it's not even about tonight's game. I had a friend I talked to asked me after the game in San Francisco, how you feel now? Shoot me. You put me on my misery now because it's over, even though I wanted them to win. Listen, my whole problem is Kerr. You spend the whole, damn season playing Lamb and the other G Leaguer. I can't even think of his name. When you
Ty
have
Jerome.
4.
We'll at least respect the man's name, but I'll let you continue. But yeah, Ty Jerome.
Ty Jerome. You had 4 rookies sitting, not rookies, but 1 rookie and 3 to 2 second-year players over there. That's what your season was for. But Kerr lost me years ago, and I know they won championships. I'm old enough to remember the very first one with Rick Barry. So I'm appreciative of all of that. But when the head coach says, it is not my job to develop players, well, whose job is it? You got 9,000 coaches sitting back there. Obviously, they ain't getting it done. You give up on Wiseman. You've given up on Kuminga. I can understand about the newest rookie. But whose job is it to develop these cats? And you play Lamb and Ty Jerome the whole season.
Well, some of that I think was injuries too, and look, it's roster balance, and Kuminga played a lot with Lamb. Kuminga's best minutes this year, you could make the case were when he was on the floor with Anthony Lamb. So I don't think it's all of one or none of another. I mean, there was a lot of time where Curry was out, and Ty Jerome is a ball handling point guard. So you need a ball handling point guard. If Poole goes into the starting lineup, then that means DiVincenzo's going to play more minutes, and then you also need another guard that you can handle the ball some. And so Jerome played a lot of those games where Curry was out. And so, look, I get the frustration on the young players, but here's what happened. The Warriors intended to play the young players. They did. And then they got off to a 3-7 start, and that took the margin for error away as far as playing the young players. And I know the young players weren't playing a ton to begin with, but when you get off to the bad start, then you have to hunker down and trust your vets to get you back on track. And the Warriors did that. They got to 13-11, and then when they got to 13-11, injuries happened, and other players started getting – and it was just this discombobulated, all right, injuries lead to opportunities for some, and then the regular roster comes back, and when the regular roster comes back, those opportunities go away. You just kind of couldn't keep everybody happy in their most productive roles, right? Kuminga was far more productive and effective when Wiggins was out and other players were out because he would get more opportunities to play. And so then Wiggins and Payton come back, and Kuminga has to play 5-6 minutes a half, and he can't be effective in 5 or 6 minutes a half. And so then that becomes a problem. DiVincenzo was a young vet. We've talked a lot about DiVincenzo all year. He didn't play as well unless he knew he was getting a lot more run. Look at him tonight. DiVincenzo knew he was probably going to get 25 minutes because of Wiggins' injury, and he ended up playing one of his better games of the playoffs. 888-957-9570. We'll keep it going here on the phone lines. It's Warriors wrap-up as the Warriors season comes to an end. Lex in North Carolina next here on the game. Hey, Lex.
Hey, what's going on, JD?
What's up, man?
Oh, man. Just a little disappointed. I really think it was just a bad matchup, man. Like I said before, this playoffs was going to be one of the hardest playoffs that we had, man. It was like we played basically our clones because Mike Brown took the Krabby Patty formula and brought it down to Sacramento. It was almost like we was playing like ourselves a little bit. We took that to 7 games, just had rough playing in L.A. But, I mean, we seen it all through the season, man. Just a lot of turnovers. I mean, just horrible road record. I mean, just like one of the worst we had as a Warriors team since we had Steve Kerr, man. It's just a lot. And I really think, like, when it comes to the personnel, I mean, a lot of people saying when the shot not falling, you want to drive to the basket. But the thing is, like, you got AD hunkered down in the lane, swatting everybody's shot. It's like really nothing you can do when you don't have a way to bring AD out because Mooney is not a shooter, Draymond not a shooter. So when we have those guys in, we have 2 offensive liability. So I think it's a personnel thing. I honestly, when we won the championship last year, I vividly remember saying, I feel like we're going to be even better next year because Wiseman was injured. He didn't play. I thought we were going to develop the young guys a whole lot better. I mean, I guess, as long as we got the big three, I think things can go through, as long as we got Steph Curry. But just like you said, man, I think Klay Thompson need to reevaluate. I think we just need to try something different with the personnel because I feel like Draymond Green loves having a live threat. So when he comes off the pick and roll, he can have a way to get the ball. If he wants to score, throw it up to a live threat. And we don't really have that at the center position right now. So I don't know, man. Maybe we can just work stuff out and get there. But if this is the end of the Warriors, I mean, we had a great run. I mean, this is one of my favorite teams of all time. Like, I don't know, man. Hopefully we can get everything worked out, but we can get it together. So have a good night, JD. Thanks for all you do, and I'm loving the show. Peace.
Thanks, Lex. Appreciate it. And again, we'll be on tomorrow, 10 a.m. until 1, right here at 95.7 The Game. 888-957-9570. Lakers were a bad matchup. I'm glad you brought up Sacramento because that series being as hard as it was, and the Warriors were in a fight. I mean, it felt like every second of that series they could barely breathe. Even in the games they were winning, the Kings were right there on their heels, and it was like they were playing themselves a little bit. And I think it zapped them. I think the Lakers were a bad matchup for sure with their size and athleticism. I mean, it was just too much Anthony Davis, to be honest. And look, I'll give you the short version of the offseason for me. I want Bob Myers back. I want Steve Kerr back. I want Draymond Green back. Now, you got to be careful on the money in future years, but if I'm the Warriors, I want Draymond Green back. Absolutely. Of course, Steph is Steph. Klay's coming back because he's in the final year of his deal making $40 million. I want Wiggins back, and I want Looney back. That's 5. And then you have to reevaluate the rest of it. I still can't get over, and I missed this earlier, basically Jonathan Kuminga told the Warriors, it sounds like, he wants a guarantee he's playing a lot next year. He wants to be traded. Who does he think he is? Holy crap. That's pretty incredible. That is pretty incredible. But it goes to show, and look, I've said this, I think Kuminga's future is bright, but I do think he thought when he got drafted by the Warriors that he was going to be running with the ones a lot, and it was going to help his career be elevated relatively quickly, and it hasn't quite worked out to this point the way he thought it was going to. And I think a big part of it is that the veterans don't fully trust him. I don't think Kurt takes that bullet and wears it and owns it and says the right things in the post-game press conferences when the fans go crazy. But I mean, that's pretty crazy to think. And I think Kuminga knows, and I've said this a few times, I think Kuminga knows what a fan favorite he is. And so he also knows, and his agent knows, that he can play the whole, he can play a little hardball, basically. Because if the Warriors move on from him, you're going to have some unhappy fans, depending upon what you get back from him. And so you're trying to force your way into being able to play more. But, yeah, I would keep those 5, and then I would look from there at trying to make a move with Jordan Poole, who seems like he doesn't necessarily want to be here. And I would look at dealing Kuminga. Because to me, if he's not good enough, and he was not good enough against the Kings to play, we can talk about everything else and what happened in the back end in this series and where there was other stuff going on. Well, maybe the fact that it was reported the second the season ended he wanted to be traded if he isn't guaranteed a major role next year, even though he can't play on a playoff team this year, maybe that was part of the reason why the Warriors were a little bit down on him. Holy crap. Like that, man, wow. Sounds like that's another one that old JD read the tea leaves correctly on. But I think he knows he's a fan favorite, and I think they're pushing the envelope in some reason, because of that. Mystic in San Francisco. We'll keep it rolling here. We got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Hey, Mystic.
Man, JD, man, I'm sick right now. I hate the Lakers. I've been a Warrior fan since the 80s. and I'm just
I hear that.
watching them smack us around. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
No, I know. I'm just saying I hear that. I hear that. I get that. I understand where you're coming from.
So I'm hurt. But when I look at this series, I'm like you, JD. It seemed like the Warriors did themselves in this series. They made too many errors, and it's just like the rest of the season. You know, you didn't play defense. You fouled a lot. And then at the end of the season, you can't shoot because you're tired. Here's what happens, JD, when you have older guys, and that's okay. I'm not saying that they can't have older guys and still win. What I am saying, though, is somebody like Klay Thompson. I love Klay Thompson. He's a splash brother, one of the greatest players ever. Tragedy he's not on the top 75. But now is the time for somebody like Andrew Wiggins to be the second best player on the team. And I think we saw that when he got hurt. They just had no answer. So I think now when they come back next year, Wiggins, and I know it's hard for me to say this because people don't think he can do it, but he's got to step up and say, he's got to demand the ball and say, man, I'm number 2 now. Next to Curry, I'm the guy. And then also Jordan Poole. Is Jordan Poole a locker room cancer? I mean, he seemed like he totally checked out, like he was totally lost, and he just didn't want to be a part of the team. So to me, he's a guy who I would look to move on from. Kuminga, okay, you're immature, you're 20 years old. Maybe you can reel him back in. Maybe this summer he can take a step forward and be a primary backup behind Draymond. But somebody like Andrew Wiggins, Kuminga with some athleticism, we need young legs in the lineup now. And some of the older guys, they're going to have to let go of the rope a little bit and give the guys a little room to grow.
Yeah, no, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I do want to get one more call in here, and we got another piece of business we got to do. You know what? Let's go ahead and do the business, and then we'll get Caprice in here real quick, Sterling, before we call it a night, because we are pushing very quickly here toward that midnight hour. So let's go ahead and get to our extending the three-point line three-pointer of the night. Here it is, Sterling.
Thompson down the lane, one-hander, no good. Looney the rebound. Out to Curry. Curry pump fakes, steps to his left, takes a three, and hits it.
He finally got a decent look.
29 for Curry. It's 108-88. Warriors down 20.
Yeah, tough one, but Steph Curry getting it to the finish line there, as that is extending the three-point line, which is brought to you by West Coast Men's Health. Steph Curry, rough night for the Warriors from 3. We talked about it earlier, 13 of 48, but that one of Curry's 4 three-pointers on the night, 4 of 14, but he finished with 32 points and just exceptional, really, throughout the course of the playoffs, although struggling from three-point range in this series. So that long three-pointer brought to you by West Coast Men's Health, successfully treating men for ED and chronic pain. Visit westcoastmenshealth.com for more details. All right, last call is going to be Caprice in Florida. Caprice, I got about 45 seconds for you. What's on your mind tonight?
So I won't be long. I just wanted to say, I heard what you guys were saying, but I don't feel like the Lakers were like a bad matchup for the Warriors. I feel like overall the Warriors were a better team. I just feel like they were just like constantly shooting themselves in the foot too many times. Like you saw it. They were up 11 game 3, up double digits in game 4, blew both games. You understand to me? And then went small in game 1. So overall, Golden State is unbeatable when they're like focused and stuff like that, and when they're not shooting themselves in the foot, because there was too many times where Golden State was shooting themselves in the foot. And also, I just want to say, I don't feel like the dynasty is over. I know a lot of people want to hear that, but I don't feel like the dynasty is over. So I want to know what you think, if you think the dynasty is over. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
I'm not ready to say it's over tonight. No, I think we have to see how this offseason plays out. I don't think we can declare the dynasty over. I mean, you can say it looks, it's going to be more difficult to win a title next year maybe than this year. We'll see. I mean, this year they won 44 games. They could put together a team that maybe is closer to last year's team than this year's team was, and then you've got a little bit of action. So I will say it is premature, but we got to see what happens to Bob Myers and Steve Kerr and Draymond and how they attempt to make the roster better. All right, that's going to do it. I want to thank Sterling Bennett all season long. Excellent work. I want to thank Craig Valentino. I want to thank Mark Grandy. I want to just thank everybody. John Lucan, everybody that's worked, and I'm probably missing some names here, all year long, helping out on Warriors Wrap-Up. Cam Williams has done an incredible job as well. Cutting the highlights, running the board, editing post-game press conferences, and working with me, just excellent work. Just top-notch, first class, a lot of really great people in the studio. I've been doing this show at the arena basically every night at home and traveling to games during the playoffs and some in the regular season, and it's just been seamless. So excellent work, and it's just been a pleasure. I just want to thank you, the listeners, and everybody following on YouTube and Twitch and watching there, and the texters and people on social media. I just could not be more thrilled and happy and just on a tough night for obviously the Warriors and their fans to be the guy that you talk to be the person that breaks it all down and gets to talk about it in the aftermath after all of these games this year. 80 out of 82, I think, for me in the regular season, plus the games in the playoffs, 13 of them. And so it was just a blast, and I loved doing it last year on the championship run and the couple of years before that as well, a part of this show since that 2016-17 team in some form or fashion. We got the broadcast rights for the Warriors games, and so couldn't be more thrilled to talk to y'all, and hope we get a chance to do it again come October when the Warriors are back in action. It's going to be a hell of an off season. All right, we're not done yet, though, as far as Warriors this week. Join me and Whitey Gleason tomorrow, 10 to 1. We'll be wrapping up the entire season, our final show for 2022-23. A lot of phone calls to come then, and we'll get into everything, how this season went down, this series, what the Warriors do in the future as well, between 10 and 1 o'clock tomorrow. Right here on 95.7 The Game. So until next season on Warriors Wrap-Up, it's John Dickinson from Crypto.com Arena. Warriors lose to the Lakers tonight, 122-101, and you heard it right here on 95.7 The Game. We'll talk to you next year.
With your choice of select sandwich, nugs, fries, and a drink, Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag is your go-to. Your nugget wingman. Your hot and crispy fry co-pilot.
Just like us. We're like the bag boys.
What?
Bag boys, bag boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
For a deal you can count on, bet on Biggie and choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Bag boys, bag boys.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Includes choice of double-stacked JBC or crispy chicken sandwich with 4-piece nugs, junior fry, and small soft drink. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
Great. It's yours. See you then.
Nathan's Tiki-themed bar is swimming in end-of-year party bookings.
Where can I find that many servers? They want headlamps? And I'm going to need to find a band.
He needs caterers to navigate the rising tide.
No, Mario, not your cousin's cover band.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions